Today I'm going to talk about how to set up a Laravel project with Inertia and Vite. I'm not sure if you have the same feeling. When I started a Laravel project, if I want to enable Inertia and the Vite configuration has to be changed. There's no clear instruction on how to cover all of them. So I had to search on Google and figure out what's wrong with the environment and what's wrong with the configuration. So essentially I spent quite a lot of time on properly setting up the project with Inertia and Vite. So in this video I will show you the steps, what I followed, and the script I used to quickly and correctly set up such a Laravel project. Okay, now I'll show you firstly the script I wrote. So this is the one. It's nothing but just to create a Laravel project, install the necessary packages and dependencies, update the configuration, mostly the environmental variables. You don't have to use it. You can simply just follow the commands in this script. So I'm going to use it in this video today. It can save me a bunch of time. By the way, so what is Vite? Vite, as officially announced, it's a next generation front-end tool for the front-end development to allow the engineers to quickly set up the environment with the mainstream front-end frameworks, for example, Vue or React. Okay, let's start. Assuming that you are also going to do the same thing to create a Laravel project, going to use Inertia and Vite. I have already have the script create Laravel Inertia app.sh in my local environment. So I'm going to use it. There are 3 parameters required. First one is the voting, is the application name. So I name it as voting system. And you will need to provide the database name, database username, and password. I have already created the voting database in my local MySQL server. So this is what I'm going to use. So the database name, voting, username, root, password, root. This is what I have in my local environment. Let's go. So you can see it's in progress now. If you look into the script, you can see here this is what it's expecting: the app name, database, username, and password. They will be used here. It will replace the variables in the .env file, which will be used by that Laravel application. Okay, let's come back. You can see, yeah, it's still in progress. It's installing the PHP packages, the Node.js packages, install and publish the necessary configuration from different PHP packages. These are all required by the Laravel and the Inertia. So it might take some time, but it will save your manual work. It's finished, and now let's look into the folder. We have the voting system folder here. Let's go to this folder, and if you see the .env file, the database name, username, password has all been changed. Now we can open this project. Essentially, we have most of the stuff in place now. We just need to update a couple things. Firstly, as we are using Inertia, so we need to add the middleware to the kernel, which is the app HTTP kernel. In the web group, you see here middleware group, we need to add app HTTP middleware inertia handle inertia requests. We need to add this middleware to the web group so that the inertia routes can work. So this is source code. You can look into it. By the way, this is a root view. So this is a root template the inertia looking for. So we are going to create the template later on. For now, we are adding the middleware to the kernel configuration. Okay, this is for inertia. That's it. Then we go to Vite configuration here. Now you can see the configuration, the plugins. The only plugin config here is Laravel. As we are using Vue framework, so we need to also config the plugin for it. I have already installed the Node.js packages, the plugins. What we need to do other than that is to add the Vue plugin to the Vite configuration. So you can see here, first we need to import the plugin, the Vue plugin for Vite. Okay, next step is copy the Vue plugin configuration. Vue here. Okay. Now this is what we need to do for the Vite configuration. Next thing is now let's start the terminal. So we can try and see if it's working for us so far and what's the issue there. Here we are using serve. We start the dev server, and in this console I'll start the Vite. If you look into the package JSON, you should be able to see the script dev. This is to launch the Vite. Okay, we should be able to see the page. This is a classic Laravel page, welcome page. Now we can log in or register. Now let's do register. Let's register a new account. Okay, that's because I have already registered. So I can simply log in here. Anyway, if you create a brand new project, you should be able to register whatever you prefer. The account already exists. That's just because before this video I have already created the same database and used it for some application. That's why the same email address has already been used. Now you can see we can log in here. So this is working perfectly, but we are not using Inertia. To use Inertia, we need to configure the server side and the client side. To the server side, you should be able to see some tips here. So what we are going to do is that we need to create a root template. This is what I just mentioned, the root template name app. It will be in the folder views, resources, views. This is a default folder the Inertia middleware is looking for the template. So we add a new template. PHP. You should see here we need to, it's using mix, which is not what we are using in the latest version of Laravel. We are using Vite instead. So we need to change. We can use a Vite annotation, and the CSS and JavaScript are in resources folder, so we need to change it. So this is how we put the CSS and JavaScript onto the page. Okay, now we are setting up the view template for Inertia. The next step is the client side. The client side, you can look into the Inertia documentation. All this dependency has been installed, so you don't need to worry about it if you are using my script. This is the steps you need to follow for Vue version 3. But if you're looking, so this is not related to Vite or Laravel. So if you go back here to Laravel official documentation and you search create Inertia, so this is what you should follow. For Inertia, you need to complete a setup for the client side. These steps or the code should be added to app.js. You can add it here. Notice here, it's going to resolve the page component from the pages folder. So all your Vue components for Inertia, you should place them in the pages folder. Where is the pages folder? It's not there, so you need to create pages. So this is a folder for the Vue component, and for us, I'm going to put all the voting related components in a separate or subfolder called voting. Firstly, I like to have a index.view. This is the index page or component page. Okay, I just added here. It's empty. Okay, that's for the Inertia frontend or client side configuration. Yeah, that's it. And let's see in the Vite console, everything is okay. Now it's a time to set up some root with Inertia. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a controller, PHP artisan. So this is essentially the environment setup or project setup is completed. So we are going to create some root, the Inertia root, and see if it's working. So we can use artisan make controller loading controller. In this controller, I'm going to define a public function called index, and we are going to return Inertia page using render function. And this is this component parameter. For this parameter, I'm going to pass the view template relative path. In my case, it's voting/index. So it's a relative to the pages folder render. And we can also pass some properties, message hello voters. Okay, next step is to add a root here. We'd like to restrict the users on this page, so all the login users or authorized users should be able to see that. So voting, and the middleware I say auth name voting index. This is the root name. Here I'm going to replace with the controller voting controller and the function index. Okay, now let's see if it's working. Oh, one more thing before we see it. We need to add a template for this index component. H1 message. So the message is passed as property. So if you want to learn more about the Inertia development, so check out their official documentation. Essentially, if you pass these properties in this way, you can access in the view component with some properties. Here we know message is a string you passed from the controller to the client-side component as property. Now I think it's ready to try. Let's come back to the dashboard, replace it with voting. Now you can see hello voters. So I can see it's working. And let me change the message hello voters, welcome to Laravel Inertia world. Now let's refresh the page. Okay, you can see this is working perfectly. So this is how we can set up a later version of Laravel project with Inertia enabled and Vite as the configuration or assets tool. Okay, again, feel free to check out this script for your day-to-day development. Hope it can give you some convenience in the project setup. And if you have any question, feel free to comment below. If it's useful, remember to thumbs up and subscribe the channel. Let me see before we finish if there's anything I'd like to share with you. Now, again, repeat on the instructions. Firstly, use a script to create a project with the necessary package and the dependency installation. Next step is to open the project and update the Vite configuration, add the Inertia middleware to the kernel configuration, initialize or complete the client-side Inertia application setup in the app.js. That's mostly it. Oh yeah, one more thing before I finish. So there's also another step you should be able to see here in the Laravel documentation. In the asset bundling part, when we are using Vite, it says that we can add a alias to the Vite configuration. I haven't added, but we can. So this is to allow us to use the character to easily address the view components in the client-side development. So I'm going to cover it in next video. If you are going to add you can check out the official documentation here and add whatever you prefer. So for me, I say this is the plugin. So for your reference, I add it to the top of the configuration, so it's easier to see it here. Okay, 20 minutes video. I think that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Check out the script in my repository. Okay, see you next time. Bye bye.